we will be focusing on the critical relationship between the executive, legislative, and the judicial branches of the government. And of course, we'll be looking at the pivotal roles they have played. We also look at the subnational entities, including states and the 776 local government areas. Now, joining us virtually from the United Kingdom is Dr. Tony Agbons. He's actually joining us live to x-ray the front line of this discussion, enhancing Nigeria's democratic fabric, evaluating interbranch dynamic and subnational roles over 25 years. Good morning, Dr. Tony. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. And thanks for inviting me to your program this morning. Good morning, beloved people of Edo State and Nigeria in general.
All right, it's always a delight to have you. Now, can you give us a brief overview of Nigeria democratic evolution over the past 25 years, Dr. Tony?
Yeah, thank you. I think when you look at Nigeria, the democracy we have now, many of us look at it from the lens of the last 25 years when we finally succeeded in getting the military out of governance. You will agree with me that from 1960, when Nigeria got independence from Great Britain, we only enjoyed democracy for about cumulative 13 years, 1960 to 1966, and then from 1979, very briefly, to 1983. So this last 25 years has been the longest that Nigerians have ever enjoyed, what we will call democracy. So, but whether it has really been democracy or it is civilian rule or civil rule, that one is a debate for another time and day. So, but in terms of, having elections, one government handing over to the other, I think from 1999 to now, we have had 7 general elections in Nigeria. And we've even had the, privilege of having a political party, handing over to another political party. So on that ground, we'll say that's a measure of success. But when you now look at the wider picture, so the question on the lips of most Nigerians is, how are the people of Nigeria, how are we faring in the last 25 years? Economically, how is the nation going? Politically, is our democracy, is it evolving in the right direction? So the political parties, are they developing? Where are their ideologies? So these are the whole issues that we can put on the table.
Now, for the past 25 years, how would you assess the relationship between the executive and the legislative arm?
Yeah, I would say it's been, let me just say yo-yo. Well, what I mean with that is that Nigerians, to be honest, when you look at the 3 arms of government, Nigerians are not very happy with the legislative arm, whether at the state level, that is the one you call the subnational, or even at the national level. So a lot of Nigerians feel that the legislature, which is the real arm of government that is supposed to really represent the people, that they are not doing the bidding of the people as expected. They tend to always kowtow. They tend to always bow to whoever is president. Like somebody, wrote this. I was reading an article, and the person wrote, any president in power, APIP, that the legislator will always bow to that person. So that has been there. So, but when you look at since 1999, from the time of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, with the purported third-term agenda that didn't say through, I think the legislature on that, they really stood firm. And whoever was engineering that third term, the legislature did not allow that thing to go through. And then you come to the President Musa Yar'Adua, you go to Goodluck Jonathan. So you've had that, check and balance to some extent. And then you move to Muhammadu Buhari, and many people will say that one was very frosty. We all know how Dr. Olushola Saraki, became the Senate president, and what happened in the House of Rep, and then that particular tenure was very, very frosty. But it gave for a very robust legislature. And then when you look at the current government, Senate led by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, a lot of Nigerians are not really happy at the moment with, they seem to believe that anything the presidency brings, anything the executive brings, the legislature, they are just passing it and all that. And the body language of the current legislature seems to just be that, oh, it's our party that is in power, whatever the president brings. So a lot of people are not really satisfied. Even personally, I'm just looking at it that the legislature need to do more. They are the real representative of the people. But that is not to say that the legislature should be fighting with the executive. It should be check and balances. That is how democracy was planned out.
But in all fairness, with this current relationship that they're having now, do you think it will create a form of checks and balance between them, or
No, it is
will it
supposed
just give the presidency a swift win for them?
it is supposed to create that check and balance. That is, those who right from the days of the Greeks to the Americans, those who practice democracy, even in the UK here. So you have that check and balance. The parliament at all levels, from the local government to the subnational, which is the state, to the federal. So they check the activities of the executive. And then I know maybe you will come to that later. You do have the judiciary as well. So that power is not just absolutely in the hand of just one man who is president. In some countries, who is prime minister. But for Nigeria, from what we are seeing, I think the legislature, they need to really buckle up. They need to know that they are not there because of the executive. They are the direct representative of the people. So they need to do that. But like I said, it doesn't mean that they need to be throwing punches with the executive. So if there are need for them to argue out, if there are need for them to disagree to agree, that should be. And that is what makes democracy an interesting form of government.
Talking about the let's take it now. Let's go to the judicial arm now. You actually made mention of it. Over time, we've had elections, and there's no presidential election that doesn't end up in the courts. Just recently now, there's a recent slogan, go to court. You can go to court. You hear every party in power telling others to go to court if they feel they are not okay with the outcome of an election. What do you see, or what is your perception about the Nigeria judiciary? Are they actually independent, as it were?
By the letters of the Constitution, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, they are supposed to be independent of each other. But you know how Nigeria is, and that is why people will always say, not let Nigeria happen to you. Nigeria, we have a way of turning things the other way around. So, but when you look at the judiciary, a lot of Nigerians, they finger the judiciary that they have not been up to board. They have not been dispensing justice as people expected. So many people feel, with all due respect to the well-meaning members of the bar and the bench, our learned justices and all that, in the temple of justice, many people feel that there's a lot of underhand current going on, especially with the last 2023 general election in Nigeria, where we were having some very, dubious judgment, so to speak. Some judgment that even for people who are not, very vast in the law, we begin to look at it that what is going on here. You see the example in Kano, you see the one in, I think in Nasarawa and some other places. Even the presidential election, there was some part of the judgment that people were like, what? How did they interpret this? But all that has gone past. But when you look at the judiciary, I think the Nigerian judiciary, they need to know that justice should be dispensed without fear or favor. And somebody once said that if we want our society to grow, then the law as a living organism must be allowed to breathe. And for those in power, the big men and big women in power, they need to know that the law, okay, is no respecter of anybody. So everybody must be subject to the law, and judges um, should not be coerced, to giving, judgment that are bought. Let me just put it that way.
Okay, are there any significant achievements recorded all through this 25 years journey?
Yeah, I think
Yes,
for me,
significant.
I think I mentioned that at the beginning of this conversation, is that we have been able to have successive transition. Before 1999, even before we conduct an election, there's a military interregnum. But that has not happened since 1990 till today. So we've been having elections, from 1999, 2003, 2007, 2011, 2015, 2019, and then the one we had in 2023. So for me, that is success. And a lot of Nigerians, young people that were born since 1999, all they have known now is democracy, which is good. So I believe that if we are able to, sustain our electoral system, make it fair, we can make it fair. If you look, South Africa just had their election, in May, ending of May. You saw that election in South Africa. So everything, technology was used as people were voting, the results, everybody was seeing it, everybody was monitoring it. So that is exactly what we want in Nigeria. Because, like you said just now, uh, elections in Nigeria will always end up in court. But in South Africa now, nothing like that has happened because it was fair. Everything was black and white. So in Nigeria, if we get to that stage where elections are decided by the people primarily and not by a few judges in the court, then we'll make much progress. And the politicians will know that they need to work, because most people that get into political office, a lot of them don't do the work they are elected to do. Even if they do it, some just do like 2%, they do 3%. They don't do more, they don't do enough for the people. So things are not, developments are not there. Things are just the way they are. But once they know that they cannot subvert the electoral process, they cannot induce anybody, everything is as clear as ABCD, our country will develop, and
Okay.
the right people will come into politics.
All right, let's quickly wrap it up from here. Corruption is a major problem. For 25 years, the EFCC chairman was quoted as saying that if you see some of the corruption files, some of these case files in his office, that he sheds tears each time he goes through some of these files, that he wonders how Nigerians are surviving looking at the huge, humongous amounts that are involved in some of these cases. Now, how do we tackle corruption, and how do we begin to build a country that have integrity compared to other nations?
Yeah, I think if you look at Nigeria, corruption has been the bane of our development. So people see politics as an industry where they just go in, they become stupendously wealthy, they become billionaires. And this is not how it's supposed to be. So for corruption to stop in Nigeria, it has to be holistic. So there should be penalty. In any society where there is no deterrent for wrongdoing, people will never do the right thing. So I think this has to start from the top to the bottom. Because if you look at people now, people just say, no, be me go repair the country. Let me just do my own and hammer and enjoy my life with my family.
Okay.
So our society has become like an animal farm, survival of the fittest. Everybody is just trying to grab. So, but there should be penalty, and it needs to start from the top. Those in political power, political offices, they are living large, and this is everybody is looking at them. You see somebody becomes a local government chairman or a governor or a House of Rep member or House of Assembly member. After like 2 years, they become very wealthy. They make a lot of money, contracts here and there. So, and people are inflating things here and there. So there need to be, the anti-corruption agency need to be strengthened, giving free hand to do their job. And those found culpable, whether high or low or medium, they should be punished.
a whole lot to talk about, Dr. Tony, but I'm afraid we've actually run out of time as we have other segments to handle. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Dan. It's been my pleasure.
All right, that was Dr. Tony Agbons, Senior Lecturer at Linguistic University in United Kingdom.